Ladies and gentlemen, we have Pearl's kit, and admittedly, I've already read this for the first time on stream, and I have to say that personally, I'm very disappointed with this kit, right? But I'm not here to let my personal bias get in the way while I read this kit. I'll leave that for after I go through the kit, so I don't bother you guys, since most of you are just here to hear what the kit has to offer. So, starting off, we got the basic attack. It's just ice damage equal to 90% of Pearl's defense against one enemy. You know, it's a trash basic attack. It does no damage. It's absolutely whatever. Next, we move on to enhanced basic attack called Brushstroke Imaginate the Starry Night. Deal ice damage equal to 100% of Pearl's defense to all enemies. Also, restore health for all allies equal to 8% of Pearl's defense plus a base of 160. The lowest health target will get an additional heal that is double of what the previous one was, right? So, in total, the lowest HP target actually gets a 16% heal, and as well as a base 320. When in possession of Certified Banger, additionally deal ice elation damage equal to 15% of Pearl's defense to the attacked enemy targets. She has another EBA, however, the numbers for this EBA are basically the exact same, it's just slightly weaker. She has two enhanced basic attacks, the stronger one being the one I just read, Imaginate the Starry Night, and then the more normal one is Render the Great Wave, right? Next, we move to the skill. Gain 15 points of Certified Banger, and once again, it's a heal. Restore health for all allies equal to 12% of Pearl's defense, plus a base of 240, and for the lowest HP ally on the team, they get double of this in total for 24% of Pearl's defense plus a base of 480. Next, we move on to the talent. Pearl can use Certified Banger as repellency. Each point of Certified Banger is equal to 200 points of repellency. When an ally target takes damage, Pearl can consume repellency to block 60% of the damage for the ally target. Pearl's Certified Banger lasts indefinitely and has a max of 50. When an ally target's HP percentage is 50% or lower, the damage they take is automatically reduced by 30%. So a Fu Xuan-esque kit with damage reduction, but also a decent amount of healing in the mix, just to make sure that her sustain capability is top notch, right? Next, we go into probably the only good thing about her. I'm letting my bias slip, I'm sorry. This is probably the only really standout buff that she has in her entire goddamn kit. Gains 20 points of Certified Banger when using Ultimate, and uses Deep Learning on one ally, making this target the aesthetic archetype. When there are 1, 2, 3, or more Elation characters on the team, advances the target you selected action by 10, 15, or 30%. When there are 4 or more Elation characters on the team, basically meaning mono Elation, the target will actually gain an extra turn. At the start of this extra turn, the aesthetic archetype gains 30 points of Certified Banger and 60 points Punchline, which are removed at the end of the extra turn. Notice that this is not called an action advance. This is called an extra turn, meaning it shouldn't waste the other buffs, cooldowns, like Silver Wolf Certified Banger at all, right? So I don't think you have to stress about that. It's a pretty decent buff, right? While in Deep Learning, basic attack, Brushstroke, Trace the Severed Stream is enhanced to Brushstroke, Render the Great Wave. This is her weaker enhanced basic attack that I mentioned earlier. However, if the target of the ultimate is of the path of Elation, this EBA upgrades itself to Imaginate the Starry Night. When dealing damage, additionally deals 60% ice elation damage. This elation damage is calculated using the ultimate's target's stats. Deep Learning has 3 points of charge. After Pearl uses a EBA, 1 point of charge is consumed. If no charge remains after taking action, then Deep Learning will end, right? So this ult in Mono Elation is able to give an extra turn with a good amount of Certified Banger and Punchline Gen, and Pearl also upgrades her own EBA into something a little stronger that scales off of the person she selected stats. So just helping her out with her sub DPS capability. Also, this is just a great buff. I have no complaints here, right? Next, we have the Elation skill. When there are 1, 2, 3, 4, or more Elation characters in this team, causes all ally targets to additionally deal Elation damage of their corresponding type equal to 10, 15, 20, or 40% to the attack target after their next attack. Notice this is not a permanent buff. It only applies to the next teammate's attack after this activates. So if you're not able to reapply this Elation skill fast enough, what ends up happening is that you're losing out, for example, in a Mono Elation team, 40% more total damage, which is pretty hefty in my opinion, right? We're going to have to see how consistent this buff actually ends up being, especially with some characters like E2, Silverwolf, Sparksy. They get action advances at the end of AHA instance or after hitting certain amounts of punchline. I don't know how well this would actually synergize with that, but we'll see. Next, we go into the bonus abilities. When defense is 2400 or higher, increase this unit's elation by 32%. For every 100 defense exceeded, increase this unit's elation by 3%, up to a max of 3600 excess. Can be taken into account. The next bonus ability is, when an ally target's turn begins, Pearl will gain 5 points of Certified Banger, up to a max of 50. The obtainable amount of Certified Banger resets at the start of Pearl's turn. When using an enhanced basic attack or skill, dispel 1 debuff from all allies. So not bad. There's actually some cleansing here, right? Then we go into the last bonus ability, Trace. After entering combat and using ultimate, if the ultimate target is an Elation character, their next ultimate use regenerates 90 energy for Pearl. This effect cannot stack. So this just helps alleviate Pearl's ER issues for obtaining her ultimate, since her ultimate, as I mentioned earlier, is basically the main biggest buff in her entire kit. This is what you're really going to want to focus on getting the most, because it's an extra turn, Certified Banger, Punchline, absolutely amazing for a lot of Elation characters, right? Now, some of you guys may have come to the observation of something, since that's her entire base kit. She does not change paths. She does not have a generalist kit that synergizes outside of Elation teams. Her kit is completely designed with Elation synergy in mind, and only Elation synergy in mind. So this is not the cool revolutionary sustain that a lot of people, including me, thought she would be, because a lot of leakers were hyping it up that way. However, also, she has no speed buffing. She has no defense shred buffing. 2 of some of the best buffs for these Elation characters, and especially Silverwolf's team, right? So her base kit is a bit weak, in my opinion. She's not bad. I'm not saying that she's like weaker than Huohuo. I was reacting to this on stream, and there were people overreacting, being like, oh, I bet E1 Huohuo drives this character to the ground. Absolutely not. She is 100% an upgrade for sustain Elation teams, and my guess is that it's around like the 30 to 40% mark for Elation sustain teams, and it's much better than it used to be, right? They're in a much better place. But my issue with this kit is I feel like her damage doesn't matter that much. The defense scaling is a bit weird. And while her ult is great, this is not something you're going to be getting all that consistently. So you basically mainly benefit from Pearl with the extra 40% elation damage on your next elation attack when she uses her elation skill. And then this ult, which gives an extra turn, it gives 30 certified banger, and it gives 60 punchline, right? This ult, I'd imagine you get probably every 3 turns, maybe 3 turns. So every 3 turns you get this ult, you get this extra punchline, you get this extra certified banger. And then this elation skills uptime, once again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not completely sure if it's completely consistent or if there are times where there is downtime for it and you're not able to take full advantage of it, right? So that is kind of depressing for me, in my opinion. Once again, she is a buff for these elation teams and sustain teams. I'd 100% imagine that. But it's not really what I think they needed, right, to really push them where they should be in terms of synergy, right? But once again, this is my opinions. It's V1. I could be wrong when the gameplay comes out. Even if I'm right, things can change in V3. So is it that big of a deal? Not really. Just some early observations from me, right? Now, let's talk about the vertical investment. This is kind of what has led to me having a bit more aggression in terms of the way I feel against Pearl. I feel like a lot of things that could have possibly been in her base kit to really solidify her as this best in slot for these elation teams, it is really locked behind her E2, and you guys will get what I'm saying in a second here, right? So her E1 is when there are 2, 3, 4, or more elation characters in the team, increase all allies' elation stat by an amount equal to 10, 20, or 80% of Pearl's elation, up to a max increase of 60% elation, right? This E1 is pretty strong for elation DPSs, but I don't really have an issue with this, right? I would have liked to see defense shred buffing somewhere in these early Eidolons, but it just doesn't exist, so it is what it is. Let's get into the E2. Mary makes all ally targets elation damage by 15%. For those who don't know what Mary making is, because I observed a lot of people were asking about that in my last video talking about Pearl, Mary making is a unique elation buff. You can't get this shit anywhere outside of characters' Eidolons, and usually it's E6 that gives this. So for most people, they don't have this buff in their elation team at all, meaning if you're getting 15% Mary making, you're getting 15% more overall elation damage just straight up. However, obviously, this alone is kind of mid for an E2. This is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what comes after this. When using ultimate, causes all other ally elation characters to also get action advanced, and increases the certified banger and punchline gain by double, right? So, this E2 increases all ally elation damage by 15% straight up. It makes the single target extra turn for the entire team. For every elation character in mono elation, they all get a team-wide action advance by a sustain, right? And then also doubles the amount of certified banger and punchline you're getting, from 30 certified banger and 60 punchline to 60 certified banger and 120 punchline, which is the perfect amount for hitting 120 MMR for Silverwolf at E2 in order to give her extra turns, right? So E2 Pearl is just so much of a different character and so much stronger than base that it leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And by no means am I saying that I want like E2 Pearl's power level in base. No, not at all. What I was kind of hoping for in Pearl was some type of tidbit speed buffing, some type of tidbit defense shred buffing, because Silverwolf teams, she gets a bit from her light cone set. I think it's like 20-25% with the elation set. Her light cone gives I think 20% as well. E1 Yao Guang gives another 20%. So now Silver Wolf teams are a bit in this awkward state where they're stuck at 60% defense red, and there's absolutely no other vertical investment on the team currently, unless Pearl gets changes in the future, to increase this and get close to 100%, which leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And then also, once again, the speed buffing thing. I really feel like it would have been cool to see some increased speed buffing from Pearl here, considering, I mean, Avin like speed, right? Yao Guang like speed. Silver Wolf like speed. There's so many Elation characters who appreciate speed and would like another speed buffer on their team, but now it just doesn't exist. There's no speed buffing. There's no defense shred buffing. There's no generalist sustain kit like the leakers were hyping up. She's legit Elation only. So once again, she's an upgrade over every other teammate, every other sustain that's available. 100% an upgrade. That is non-negotiable. You will see a noticeable increase in any Elation DPS's team performance running Pearl as their main sustain in comparison to Huohuo, for example. But in my eyes, I really feel like it just isn't enough, right? I feel like it's just a slight bit underwhelming, but this is just my observation. I could be wrong, right? Love you all. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you all have a great night. Peace out.